Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're watching me from the world. Welcome to the Power Woman series. My name is Seun Akinlotan, and I'm your host for the Power Woman series. We have a very special guest with us today. But before we get started, I would encourage you to go ahead and share this live video. And also remember to introduce yourself. Welcome, Pastor Vera. Welcome. Good afternoon, Pastor Vera. Thank you for joining us on another episode of the Power Woman series. So, how has your week been? And if you can just share this video, it will be greatly appreciated. My week has been great, and I'm excited because tomorrow is actually the International Day of the Girl Child, and we're going to be celebrating every girl child. Now, so Pastor Vera is watching from Charlotte, North Carolina, and thank you so much for sharing that video. Thank you for sharing that video. All right, thank you. As you're joining, I see you. As you're joining, please leave your name and your location. My name is Seun Akinlotan. I'm logged in from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I would love to know where you are all logged in from. All right, so let's get started. The guest we have for today is none other than Dr. Otito Iwuchukwu Okpor. She is a graduate of pharmacy from the University of Ibadan. After she graduated from University of Ibadan, she worked for 3 years at Accenture, the Lagos office, and then proceeded to graduate school in Temple University, Philadelphia. Go Owls, where she studied. She went to graduate school in Temple University, and she had a PhD in pharmaceutical sciences in 2011. Currently, she is an assistant professor. That sounds big. At Fairleigh Dickinson University School of Pharmacy in New Jersey. She's also an entrepreneur. She has a business called Get Fab Editing. So if you're a writer or you love to write, Dr. Otito is your plug for that. She is also a health fitness enthusiast, and she's a chef. She loves cooking, and she's just a bundle of so many things. I am not going to give you the full gist because I want her to be able to come and tell her story. So join me in welcoming Dr. Otito Iwuchukwu Okpor. Hi. Hi, Dr. Otito. How are you doing today?
I'm well.
I'm so glad that you are here today. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation, and thank you for your willingness to share your story. I'm sure that we're going to have a great time, and I wanted to give you an opportunity to introduce yourself to the audience. So we have Robert Carter from Evansville, Indiana. Is with us today. Some other people are with us, but they didn't write their name. So please leave your name and your location so that we can give you a shout out. So Dr. Otito, how's your Saturday going?
It's going great. I just got off a meeting. I was a presenter at the New Jersey Pharmacists Association, our annual convention. So I got off that at 2 p.m. and then I switched to this one. So my Saturday has been good.
Awesome. Thank you for making us proud. So we have Sharon Omobolanle from Northeast Lincolnshire, England. I'm guessing that's your friend. All right, so let's get started, Dr. Otito. The moment we've been waiting for. I can't wait to hear your story because I believe that your story is inspiring. I'm really thankful to God that our paths crossed and that you actually accepted this invitation to come share your story. So before we get started, I would say that introduce yourself to the audience. Who are you? Who is Dr. Otito Iwuchukwu Okpor?
Okay. So Seun has given the academic introduction.
Yes.
So that's my front-facing job, my day job. But I'm a mom. I have 2 sons. They're age 9 and 6. Amazing human beings, I would say, just as every parent would probably say about their child.
Yes.
And I'm a believer. So I'm a person of faith. And also, like she said, I'm a fitness enthusiast. I have a kitchen blog, a video blog, where I kind of uh, do my hobby. But on the entrepreneurial side, I'm an editor. I help people put their best selves forward through their writing. But in the classroom, right, my students will probably not recognize my entrepreneurial side. I teach pharmacoeconomics and pharmacokinetics, and we're trying to do all of this math every day in school. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Awesome. And thank you for that introduction. So let's dive right in. So I just wanted to know a little bit about your background, and it's always good that we have an opportunity to reflect to where we're coming from. So what were your dreams as a child, and did people around you encourage you to keep on dreaming, or did they stop you? Because I know that a lot of Nigerians actually went through those moments whereby you're dreaming of something and then someone is telling you, no, you can't do that. No, I know that you studied pharmacy at the university, but I just wanted to know what your dreams were. And do you now think that your dreams have truly come true, or you're still a work in progress?
I am a work in progress. And about the dreams, there was no such thing as anybody encouraging you to dream or anything. So I grew up in Lagos, Nigeria. I grew up there for, I think, about, up until the time that I went to college. And so when I was younger, I used to dream of being a teacher or being somebody who basically spoke to people, right? Because my mother was a kindergarten teacher and I had older siblings. I'm the youngest in the family, so my siblings are much older. And so they were out of the house earlier than I ever was. And so I had all this time to kind of be by myself, sink into daydreams, and just continue to read. I read a lot, and I think it was from the reading that I kind of just started getting into the idea of that I could be so many things, because I just really like the concept of the fact that a book could take you to places where your physical environment, right, is not allowing you to go. So I would say that I was a dreamer, but like a conscious one. The dreams came about because of all the books that I was reading and that I was exposed to. Okay.
Wow. Wow. So all the books that you were exposed to, who exposed you to those books? Were you just the type of child that you just pick up a book and start reading without any type of motivation? I know there were many times my mom actually forced me to read, not that I really wanted to read. So which one is yours?
It's the without motivation. My father had this like tiny library of really old books, and I was reading them. And then I went to an elementary school, or primary school, as we say in Nigeria. First primary school, right? So in that school, we kind of had all the children of the ruling party at the time. So that means they had access to books. And because we were in the same school, in the same class, and they were my friends, their access meant my access, right? Because they would lend me these books and I'll come home and devour them and then return them at school when I'm done. So, yeah.
Wow. So you had access to books and you were able to get it from people that also had access to books. So that's fine. Let's go right into your PhD. I know that you have a PhD, and I actually know a lot of women like you and I who have a PhD, but I've heard different stories about getting PhD. And I really wanted you to share your own story, because I think people out there need to hear the story about how you got admitted into your PhD program, the things you tried, how many applications you put in, and what eventually happened. How did the letter come? Just give us that inside gist. Because I know someone out there needs to hear the story.
Okay. So at the time I started applying for my PhD actually before I even went to work at Accenture. It's interesting that the application was one of those, you do the work and then you let it go. You're not attached to the outcome. But I figured while that application was in, I was going to keep applying to jobs and begin working. So then I started working. And I remember I applied over 3 years, just consistently. These rejections kept coming. I applied to schools in the Northeast, and that was strategic because my brother and sister lived in New York at the time, but they've left me alone now. They've gone to different parts of the US. And so I figured if I wanted to come to the US, I want to be around my family. And at that time, I didn't even think of, the situation of maybe trying to have support. I just thought, why would I go to a place where I don't know anybody when I already have forerunners ahead of me? So I applied the first year, nothing, the second year, nothing. So the third year, I remember that was when I applied to Temple University. And I said to myself, if this doesn't work out, I'm just going to let it go. Just let it go. And that was it. And I remember coming home one day from work, and if you're in Lagos, Nigeria, you know what I mean when I say I lived in Yanapaja, like in the deep down depths of the Yanapaja, right? Where some of those streets where you don't even think that they're on the numbers.
Google Maps cannot locate those places.
So then I get home and I see the gate. Every Nigerian house has huge security because of, you see this gate. And I see something stuffed into the gate. And I was like, who would have left this here? It's interesting because now you'll be thinking about terrorism and who's dropping a letter for me. Or
maybe there's a letter bomb.
So then I pulled out this letter. And it was from Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And I kept looking at the letter. I'm like,
and you were living where? Where were you living again?
Yanapaja.
Yanapaja. Okay, I'm listening. I'm following.
So I'm thinking, how did this letter get here? That was the biggest testimony. I cannot even explain. It's just I opened this letter and it was my admission letter, right? With a full scholarship, with health insurance, everything. And being that I've never been to school in the US, I didn't know what I was holding in my hands. I really just didn't know. I just thought, okay, admission, all well and good. And then I remember going back to work and I was showing one of my friends who was one of my senior colleagues. She's really savvy. She's traveled a bit. She's schooled abroad. And I remember showing her the letter and she's like, girl, do you know what you're holding in your hand? You're holding gold, in the sense that people who live in the US don't even have health insurance. At that time, I didn't understand the importance. You know what I mean? I didn't understand the context in which you were saying it. And she said, you're here from Nigeria, going to the US, and they're giving you full coverage health insurance. Are you kidding me? Pack your bags and start leaving. So that was how that happened. It's just a testimony because that letter could have gotten lost in the diaspora. I would not have known.
Especially because we don't have a delivery service in Nigeria. So I was wondering, was it sent by DHL or UPS?
I think it was regular night post. It was a regular night post, whatever was it.
Night post. Night post wasn't deliver letters.
They did deliver this one. So this how you know it was a sign from the heavens, right? When you say, give me a sign. Remember I had said, if this doesn't work out this year, I'm done. So to me, I felt that was my sure sign, signed, sealed, and delivered, right?
Signed, sealed, and delivered. Wow. Amazing. Yeah. And, it's one of those things that you find quite unbelievable. And, God just did it just like that. That's what I call just like that. Yeah. All right. Thank you for sharing that. So, when you finally got to the US and you got to Temple, you came to Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love. Yes.
Brotherly love. Yeah.
So you got to the city of brotherly love, and then you got into Temple. What was your greatest shock? Because I know that there are a lot of cultural shocks. And, just coming from Nigeria as a Nigerian, the educational system over there, and you coming over here, what was your greatest shock? And then what lesson did you learn from your entire PhD program?
Okay. So my greatest shock was just the difference in the educational system, right? You kind of come to this place where you're really left on your own, you're left to your own devices. There's a great deal of independence required of you and all the resources are there, but there's no one to kind of walk you through the resources. But at that time, my husband at the time was living in the US as well. So he kind of had come that first week to put me through, really show me where to bank, where to shop, where to do all of those things. So I had help, I would say divine help in that sense. But I remember my first class in the US, it was a pharmacology class, right? I remember the professor saying, and we're friends. I mean, now we're really good friends. But I remember him saying, oh, you know, some of you, you've come from all over the world. You've come to the US, the bastion of education. And I just want to say to you that, you know, your countries, you may have been local champions, but here you kind of have to, you know, get with the flow. That's kind of what he was saying. And I remember thinking in my mind, what? So, you know, he was kind of insinuating that you may not do as well as you expect, maybe in your country, even if you were a first class degree holder or whatever, like the US is different. And I said, you know, just like our parents would say, I looked around the room, I said, everybody in this room, none of them has two heads, right? So
everybody has one head.
We're in it now to win it. But let me tell you, that in it to win it meant I had to study like 10 hours a day because I was like, this man, I cannot let your words count against me. Like, I have to have an A in this course. So the A came, but it was a lot of work because, like I said, I'd been out of school for a few years. This was like new content that I had not even been exposed to before. So it took a lot of catching up, right? A lot of catching up behind the scenes for you to even look you know, like you knew what you were doing at that point. As so essentially what I would say that taught me was resilience, right? And grit, the grit of really gritting your teeth and saying, I have to do this. I have to do this because now my reputation is at stake. Really, that's kind of what.
I have to do this. My reputation is at stake.
Yeah.
And I think that's big. One of the things that struck me when you were speaking was the fact that, you know, you had said that, well, if you were a local champion, wherever you were coming from, you better sit tight. But, you know, that word, you could have taken it negatively and you could have withdrawn into your shell. But instead, what you did was you took that word and you built something out of it. So I think that's important for a lot of people, wherever you find yourself in the world, even if it's in your own country, in your workplace, at your school, someone is trying to put you down, someone is telling you that you're a local champion. Yes, that's their own opinion, but their opinion does not have to be your reality. So if you don't want people's opinion to become your reality, what you then have to do is you need to put in the work. And that's what you did. You put in the work, a lot of hours that you put into studying. You said 10 hours a day. That's a lot. That means you had to give up some social activities and you just had to do what you had to do so that you can show the results.
Yeah.
And something I truly love about results is that it's something that makes people to keep quiet. It's like they can't deny it. It's there for everyone to see, and that was what you were able to do. So I want you to give some advice specifically to people that are trying to gain admission from Nigeria into the US, or even maybe someone here in the US or any other country for that matter. You're trying to gain admission into a PhD program. What are the key things that such person need to be looking into? Not even only PhD, maybe like a master's level program. And you mentioned that you got full scholarship. I know that a lot of schools offer full scholarships for PhD, full-time PhD. And then maybe as a graduate student, you know, I would really have appreciated if I had someone give me some tips when I was trying to gain admission into graduate school. So tell us, what would you advise someone that is trying to apply to a graduate school? What do you think that they are looking out for, especially for a woman of color? And, you know, what can people do to increase their chances of getting that admission letter?
Okay. So, I mean, obviously, for every school, you have to have a strong statement, right? Your statement of interest about what you want to do, how you want to contribute to the field. That is something that you cannot, you cannot like move to the side. It has to take high importance. But that statement only comes if you know what schools you want to apply to. And so this is where I would say that it was kind of serendipity that this happened, that my siblings lived in New York. So it turned out that most of the schools that would be around the New York area would be more of, I don't want to say urban schools, but then they were not schools that were just in the middle of nowhere, right? So there was that part that just happened to me. But I know that if I were to tell somebody right now about coming to school in the US, I'm going to really tell them to think about geographical location, right? Because grad school is a very isolatory experience, I would say. And the last thing you want to do is go to a place where you don't have access to people, to town, or so essentially, like if I were to use a if I were to use a common slang now, it's like make sure you're looking for schools in like woke towns, woke cities
Like,
where yes, no, honestly, because it makes a huge difference, right? Just in terms of how you, as a person of color, how you even like view yourself, right? So this story I was telling about grad school, I had just come, so I had no concept about race relations in the US. But now knowing that, I feel like it's part of my responsibility to not advise people to go to a place where they will not have a good experience just because where the school is located, right?
Located. So you suggest like big cities like Philly.
Yeah.
What about New York? Do you suggest New York?
New York, the cost of living is, really
So
high.
high.
So I cannot even ask anybody to go to school in New York, except
So apart from Philadelphia, what other city would you
so
suggest?
there's Connecticut, there's Boston. I mean, Boston is expensive too, but in terms of you can find shared housing, it's Boston is a college town, right? As we say. So there are a lot of opportunities there. If you go down Maryland, DC,
Maryland, yes.
areas, basically schools along the East Coast, right? And then the Central Midwest. So I have friends that went to school in Iowa, North Dakota, and they yes, North, South. And I mean, they in terms of relations, it was okay, but they'll tell you that it was not the best experience being in a place where you travel for miles, you don't see anyone who looks like you, those kinds of things. It can be hard on the psyche, but if you know that it's something that you're okay with, then that's fine, right?
Okay, that's fine. So statement of purpose, and you didn't mention anything about GRE. Do you think that's important?
Yes, obviously, since the graduate schools in the US still, focus much on the GRE, you have to make sure that you're studying and getting a good grade, right? And the good thing about it is that you take the exam once and it gets sent to multiple schools. So you can really use the one exam for as many applications as you want to have. Obviously, each application to cost money. So
yes, it costs money. $50, or I think it's $100
now. Yeah, $100 now for the application.
Yeah, I keep checking all this website. I'm like, oh, this is a lot of money. But then, if you really want something, you're not going to look at the money. There's always a cost. There's always a price.
Yeah, there is.
We have to pay to get our dreams, and we need to be ready to pay that price if we truly want to get the dream. So yeah, here's the dream, here's the price. So you really have to be committed to making that happen. If you're just joining us, this is the Power Woman series, and my name is Seun Akinlotan. I'm your host for today, and our guest for today is Dr. Otito Iwuchukwu Okpor. She's sharing a life story. Stay tuned and don't go anywhere. One more question before we go on break. Dr. Otito, so I've heard you talked about under mentorship. I know the literal meaning of under mentorship. That means someone that is not mentored the way up to the level they're supposed to be mentored. That's my own literal meaning. But I want to hear from you why you believe that under mentorship is one of the problems, or maybe one of the things that is keeping us from attaining our highest potential, and what you think can be done to solve that problem. So if someone is at work, what can they do to be sure that they are being mentored properly? And what are some strategies that you would share in that regard?
Okay. So in my own case, when I was in grad school, I really was with a new faculty, right? So she also was finding her way. I mean, it's retrospectively now I can look and say that was what happened. But at that time, I could sense it that, okay, this person is trying to find their way. So the expectation is that you too have to find your way. And the truth of the matter is that you don't know what you don't know. So a person who was maybe more established, who kind of knew the inner workings of the place, might have shown you things, might have taken you to places, might have, exposed you to things that you ordinarily would not have gotten. And I feel like that's the role of mentorship. Your mentorship takes you from the level where you are to the next level, even many levels higher than where you would have been. They are really kind of showing you the way and pushing you out of your comfort zone. So, you know, I feel like a lot of us, especially like people of color, just because again of this idea of us not having enough people maybe who look like us in those upper echelons of power, there's that hesitation that comes of, oh, you know, I don't know how they will take to me. I don't know, you know, what will happen here if I approach them. But you know, these were the I keep saying these were the times before Twitter and Facebook and the iPhone. I was in grad school when all of these things started coming up, right?
You know your age.
So, I know. So now there's no more limitations. That's what I was saying. Now there are mentoring groups you can join. They're mentoring networking, like what you have with the Power Woman. There's so many things you can do now in order to have access to that next level that you want to do. Yes. Yes. So again, technology has helped quite a bit. So if you had asked me 10 years ago, I might say, oh, you know, it might be harder because that would mean traveling or this. But now you can do a Zoom call with a mentor, right? You can partake in some of these masterminds, partake in all of these things that take you to the next level, really. So.
Okay. So how do you identify a mentor? You know, let's say, for example, I bought a book. It's titled Originals, and it's written by Adam Grant.
Yes,
and, you know, Adam Grant is a management professor at the Wharton School. At some point in my life, I wanted to go to the Wharton School to study PhD in management. And I'm like, am I going to reach out to Adam Grant to be my mentor? How do I do that? So if I identify a top leader or someone that I feel has experience in my field, how do I reach out to the person, and how do you advise people to handle rejection? Because of course it's not everyone you reach out to that will be willing to take you in as a mentee.
Yes, critical. So you mentioned one thing that you bought Adam Grant's book, and I do have that book. So a person can mentor you through books. That's another thing. It doesn't have to be physical level of mentoring at some stage, right? So everything is in stages. So there are stages where you get all of your mentoring through books, right? That's the knowledge, you're hungry for it, and you're, you know, reading the books and applying the things that you get from there. And then there's the stage where you say, okay, I've, you know, gotten to a certain level, and then maybe I can now have peers, for instance, who are at this level or who are slightly higher that can, you know, I can work with. Before then you get to the next level of maybe reaching out to somebody at that level. But not to say you can't do it, but if you're reaching out to Adam Grant, what is the value that you be bringing to him as a mentee?
Oh, I have to bring value?
If someone is mentoring you, it's like, you know, the way I see it is like apprenticeship. At the end, I want to be able to have imparted things to you so you can go out and become, you know, your own job man. But then you're coming to me with maybe foreknowledge about that profession. You're coming to me with your background experiences that you feel could help me move my business forward, right? So if you think about how the way that apprenticeship is done in Nigeria, the apprentice pays, remember? You pay for that experience.
Ooh, can you say that again?
I said, if you think about the way that we've traditionally known apprenticeship in Nigeria, the apprentice pays the master, right?
That's true.
So that's what
these days you have people that, you know, you even offer training and people are asking you to do it for free.
Yeah. So I think people forget that if you're looking at the trades, the apprenticeship pays the master for the experience. And so that's the value that you are bringing, a monetary value, and the master brings the experiential value. And at the end,
it shows that you mean business. I mean, like if you're ready to
committed.
pay, you dip your hands in your pocket and you're ready to pay, you mean business. And that shows the person that, yes, you are someone that I can take seriously.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned some key points and that key point is actually value, the major key point. You have to bring value to the table. A lot of people come to the table empty-handed, and life is not done that way. So if you keep going to the table empty-handed, you're going to get rejected a lot. So think about it before you reach out to that mentor, before you reach out to that sponsor. What value are you bringing to the table? You want someone to help you advance your course? You must be ready to help that person advance their course as well. You must be ready to give it your best and, you know, just bring something to the table. We're going to go on a short break.
Okay.
Stay tuned. Don't leave, because when we come back, we're going to dive a little bit into politics in the workplace. Women play. Stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
Hello, sweet.
Hi, babe. What's the matter with you? What are you looking for?
Where is she?
She what?
Where did you hide her?
I don't understand. Don't you trust me?
Where did you put the girl? Where's the lady?
I don't understand what you're saying.
I know the smell of your house. What I perceive is quite different. It's charming, it's alluring, it's sweet, it's active. Where is she?
Okay. This is she.
She?
Yes.
How? She? Feminine? Nice. Where did you get this from?
Got it from a friend.
Nice one.
Yes. You can use Feminix air freshener to get your girlfriend jealous.
Seriously?
Welcome back from that short break. If you're just joining us, my name is Sean Akinloton, and this is the Power Woman series. With me today is Dr. Otito Iwuchukwu Okpor, and she is a pharmacist. She graduated from the University of Ibadan and proceeded to Temple University in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where she also studied pharmaceutical sciences. Currently, she's an associate professor at Fairleigh Dickinson University in New Jersey. She's also an entrepreneur at Get Fab Editing. And she's a mom, she's a fitness enthusiast, she's a chef, and she's all that and more. Right now, if you have not shared this video, please go ahead and share this video. Invite your friends, let them come and be a part of the Power Woman Party. Dr. Otito, I have this question that is burning in my mind, like I can't wait to ask you. So, politics in the workplace, or let's say politics generally for women.
Okay.
What do you think about it? Should women play, stand on the sideline, or get outside the lines? What's your take and why?
Okay. This is going to be interesting because before 3 years ago, I used to feel like, organizational politics, it's like a no, you cannot do it. But now, having finished my courses in organizational psychology, I realized that organizational politics is a skill. It's a skill that you acquire, right? And basically what it is knowing who holds the power in the organization and then interacting in such a way, right, that will get you what you want. Now, I know that kind of sounds, like it sounds, what's the word? Like you're taking advantage of things, and that's the one that people are used to, where people kind of climb over others, right, to get to what they want. That's not the kind of organizational politics that we're looking at. And so, having said that, I'll say to women, don't play dirty, right? Don't play dirty, and don't sell your soul, because there are things that you do in order to advance that even this is not me, right? So why am I doing that? And over years of doing that, or over many experiences of doing that, it starts to chip away at you, right? And the other thing that I would say at work, which is why I'm now talking about the positive side of it, is be friends with everybody. Don't have cliques. Don't have, those kinds of places where people cannot bring you into. Because being friends with everybody, guess what it does? It helps you get
gives you access.
Exactly. And information is power, right?
Yes.
So, and again, you're not being friendly just for the sake of information. You're being friendly because that's who you are. And if people trust you, they will talk to you, right? And talking to you, it gives you insight, it gives you access. So then you can go and now say, how do I want to show up at work, knowing what I know, right? In that sense. So that's a way of kind of playing the politics, if you want to call it that. But politics is not just a very positive word in that sense. And I think that's why people shy away from it.
Especially women.
Yes.
Wow. Yes. I believe that life in itself is politics. And I believe that you can't just, we talk about results a lot. Yes, results are great. I believe so much in the power of results. But then there's something called the winning edge. Okay, so you find yourself in a classroom of 30 people. You've just been admitted into a graduate program to study pharmacy, right? And it's a class of 30 people with different names, different colors, different people from all over the world. You forget that the reason why you were all there was because you met the minimum requirements. So there were certain minimum requirements that was considered before you were brought into that school. Now, when you get to that school, that means that on the average, everybody is the same. So if you want to elect the class president or there's a scholarship for someone, they have to pick one person. But it has to be one little tiny thing that sets you apart, you know. So if you are not playing the politics, if you don't have access, if you don't know the right people, if you are not visible, if people can't see you, they don't notice you, if you are the type that, you know, you just go to school, you read, you go home, you're going to miss out on a lot. You're going to miss out on a lot. So you have to be there. You have to participate. You have to be visible. You have to do very little things that will get you noticed or that will set you apart. And that's basically what politics is all about. It could even be something as simple as you volunteering to take up a task. It could be something as simple as you volunteering to teach your classmates on a topic that might be difficult for most of them, you know, just something little to set you apart. And that's how to play the politics. And I like how you said that be friends with everybody, don't have a clique. Absolutely. You don't want to go to work and have a clique. You want to go to work. Of course, you can have friends, but you want to go to work and maintain a positive relationship with everyone. Life is about relationships. And if you really want to be successful in life, you need those good relationships, you know. So I just wanted to add that life itself is politics. Absolutely. Pastor Vera. Bukola Amushanlale says you don't have to play it, but you can trade in the currency of interpersonal relations. I think we're basically saying the same thing, and I actually agree with that. Thank you for joining, and if you have not shared this video, please do remember to share. So, Dr. Otito, I want to talk about career advancement. This is something that is personal to me. I love when people make progress. I don't want to see women at the bottom of their career. I want women to make an impact in the workplace. But I also noticed that a lot of women tend to shy away, especially when you find yourself in an organization that is competitive. That means that you have to apply for certain things. You know, there are some organizations that maybe after you spend 3 years, you get this automatic promotion. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you find yourself in an organization whereby you have to apply for certain things to be able to move up. A lot of women still shy away from that, and you know, they just assume, oh, they're going to pick Paul, they're going to pick Peter, they're not going to pick me. So what advice would you give to women for career advancement, and how can they really take advantage in the workplace to make sure that they're shattering the ceiling, the glass ceilings?
Yeah, I would say get your personal lean-in circles, right? Lean-in circles were made popular by Sheryl Sandberg. So you need to have those people that are in your corner, really, right? In your corner of the world that will tell you, apply for that thing, go for it, you know. And when you come back and you say, I went for it, then sometimes they'll pray with you, right? They're people of faith. Or they'll just have, you know, the positive energy that lets you know you're able to do this. So if you were here at the beginning, I said I had just come off a convention and I spoke. I wasn't picked. I had to apply. And the proposal, so with the conventions, the proposals are sent months ahead. I have to give it to the United States. Planning is their superpower, as it were. Everything is planned years in advance, right? So this conference had been planned. I think the proposals were sent in January, right, for October something.
And this is October.
Yes. So at that time, you might think, I have other things I'm doing, this, that. But then you say, okay, do I want to speak or I don't want to speak? I mean, I was selected, but because I applied, right? I was not selected out of the blues, is what I'm saying. And the proposal is you have to, abide by the whatever the rules are. So like applying for a grant, all of those things, they are not easy because it takes time. It takes a lot of mental energy, right? Mental energy, and a lot of maybe asking people for help, right? So when I say that that's part of what I do as an entrepreneur, that's because I'm so passionate about that. If you have that thing you want to write, in order to get access, I will help you. We'll structure it in a way that will get you results.
Yes,
right?
it get the attention.
Yes,
that you're looking for. Yes, so apply and
and then
have
your own
inner circle.
Yes,
I love the inner circle thing because people think, we talk. I have an inner circle. It's mainly geared towards business, but there's something I said that the tagline of the inner circle is succeed in business, prosper in life. And I think that word prosper in life, encapsulates the bigger picture of what we're looking at, because your inner circle is very critical to certain things that you might want to talk yourself out of it. But if you have good people in your inner circle that are pushing you, that are cheering you on, yes, you're going to go far. Every Monday, I upload new videos on my YouTube channel. And this coming Monday, one of the things I had talked about in the video, the general title is about self-esteem. And I had said that if you want to boost your self-esteem, you need cheerleaders. You need people in your inner circle that are cheering you on. They are leading you on. They are telling you that you can do it. Because at the end of the day, this motivational quote that says that if you can be self-motivated, it's true. But guess what? If you have that external motivation, in addition to your own self-motivation, you will do so much better, and you'll be able to accomplish things that you previously thought that you couldn't accomplish. So I love that, and thank you for sharing your thoughts on that. Now, let's talk about your talent. I can't seem to keep up with you being an assistant professor, and you still have that energy and time to think of something else outside of that part, because being an assistant professor is a lot. You have to study, you have to keep up with assignments, you have to keep up with exams, testing, and you're also a mom. And I just wanted to know how you are able to do all these things, being a professor, a food addict, awesome mom, writer, fitness enthusiast, editor. How are you able to manage it all, and how do you strike a balance in such a way that you are not overwhelmed?
Okay, first of all, technology, because technology, right? Let's start from there. And then secondly, there's no balance. I would just say it out right now. There's no balance. You just have to pick certain things in certain seasons and kind of, work with them or take them to the next level that you want to take it on. But the key thing is knowing what your priorities are. Like when you talk about me being an assistant professor, I am more focused on teaching as opposed to research. I could have gone into research, but I chose to walk away. Not that I don't do research, but I don't do it to the level of what we call R1, right? The Harvards and the MITs of this world. And that was a deliberate choice because I knew that I wanted to have time for my children.
Yes. And you're doing a great job at that.
Thank you. So that was deliberate. And also I realized that for me, teaching in a classroom, I have the opportunity to make more impact. And impact is it's like a value for me, a life value. Like, how much am I helping a person be a better person today than they were yesterday, right? And so I realized being cooped up in my research lab or anything will not serve that particular purpose. But I'll tell you, it took a mindset shift because there was that sense of I'm leaving something so crucial behind, I'm a great researcher and all that. But I know I'm a great teacher. Like, I know nobody even needs to tell me, what I mean? And so now I'm taking that greatness, right? And helping my students be even greater than I am, which is to be a privilege. So in that sense, with my children, when they were first born, I focused everything on them, I would say, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so at some point I realized, okay, the investment has been made. I mean, it's an eternal investment, but at some point you realize that, is this for me now or for them, in terms of this whole idea of being the perfect mom, being the one who has everything together. I remember telling one of my acquaintances, when she said somebody was criticizing her parenting,
Mm-hmm.
and I said, but what is the problem? Like, do you feel like you're not a good mother? She said, no, they're going to say X, Y, and Z. I said, if you know in your heart that you're doing well by your boys, like know that you're doing well,
in your own heart, by your own
standards. By your own standards that you want for your family, right? For your family. And if they are godly standards, or you've set them on the basis of values, then go ahead, right? If you keep looking to people for validation as a mother in this US, you will not make it. I have to just say it outright.
I think it's everywhere. If you keep looking for validation, yes.
You know what I mean? Like Instagram worthy dinners, this, that. It doesn't happen. Sometimes my children eat cereal because they want to eat cereal, right?
Mm-hmm.
I remember, again, somebody I knew, I saw her making food for her children, and I said, you mean you do this every morning? You cut up oatmeal, cut up this, cut up. I said,
find whatever in the refrigerator.
Whatever. For instance, my children don't take milk with cereal. It wasn't anything that I ever thought. It was just the way that they woke up and they decided they wanted to be. I don't force them. Drink your milk, eat your cereal plain. You've had the combination. It does not have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be cereal and milk. But the idea is you're getting your cereal and you're getting a cup of milk. Is it weird? I don't know, but it's not a normal thing, right?
It's going to the same place and it's going through your digestion.
They're getting their nutrients, right? They're getting their nutrients, yeah. So that's one thing. I mean, for the exercise thing, I do it kind of to keep up with them, because I've always said to myself, these children cannot outrun me. They cannot outrun me.
They will soon outrun you.
So they will soon outrun me. I mean, it's coming, but at least let me be able to keep up with them. So that's that. For the editing part of it, I think it came about as my love for books. Obviously, I've gotten my training, I've gotten the experience of doing this over the years. But just this thing I'm saying about access, like I've seen people who just one single mistake in the cover letter, that's it. Maybe that person could have been a good candidate.
That's not simple mistake. I'm very meticulous about such things.
But you understand what I'm saying, that you cannot afford to make those errors, right? Especially if you now have some sort of perceived disadvantage, right? Perceived disadvantage. You know what I mean? So it's like a double jeopardy type of situation.
Yes.
So in the place of writing, like you're saying, I need to have your own application and the application of a Sean Smith. Sean Smith, I'm sorry if there's a Sean Smith here, right? But it's just John Doe. Let me use John Doe.
John Doe.
The application of a John Doe, right? The application of a John Doe. And there should be no difference. So that when both people come, you're being judged on the merit of what you have, on the merit of your accomplishment, and not on the, continuing the so-called stereotype thing. I feel like, at least with writing, I haven't yet seen the person, right? So that writing needs to sparkle, it needs to shine, it needs to be a thing where a person picks up a second time and say, hey, let me call this person in and see what they have for me.
Okay. Yes, I love that. But I also wanted to say that having typos on your cover letter, that's not a small mistake. It actually shows that you don't pay attention to details. And it's telling me as a recruiter or an interviewer that I don't need to spend time looking at your document.
Yep, I agree.
So obvious on the cover letter. Then
forgive these people because they are students, right? So it's kind of, you're still training them to do the right thing. But it's like,
even but a lot of adults do it.
Exactly. But I'm saying, even as a student, there are no second chances in certain areas, right? In certain things. I mean, we serve a God of second chances, but there are certain situations in life where really it's one or nothing, right? So you have to make that first impression and make it a really, really stellar one.
Yes, absolutely. And one thing that I would also add to, everything you've said is that if you know that something is not your strong area, editing is not your strong area, or grammatical text and
Yes, sir.
structure is not your strong area, you need to be outsourcing those things. Don't try to do it yourself unless that thing that you're trying to apply for is not important to you. But if it's important to you and you want that other person on the other side to take you seriously, you better be doing what you need to do, even if it's going to cost you. Remember, at the beginning, I had said that there's a dream and then there's a cost. There's a cost to every dream. And then the question is, are you willing to pay that cost? Now, Dr. Otito,
Yes.
you said something that struck me so hard, and I just wanted you to provide some elucidation to that thing. And you said that, you are raising your son in a system where he may be judged before he is heard. And you said that has helped you to realize the importance of how great it is to use your written words as an advocacy tool. And I just wanted you to, I know you already said something in that line, but raising children or your son or our daughters in a system where they may be judged, maybe for whatever reason, the skin color or the name. Some people will see your name and they go, Miss O, Miss O, Miss O, and they know that once they see those type of names, they already know that you probably weren't born here, or maybe you were born to immigrant parents, and people can judge you from your name. People can judge you from your skin color. People can judge you from your gender. So how is it important to use our written words, our stories, as a way to speak up for ourselves? Basically?
Yeah, okay. So I'm laughing because when you talk about judgment, I have a really funny story, and I'll tell you why. This happened a long time ago, and I'm thinking in my mind, if this person had not seen me, if I had written to them, maybe this would not have happened. And I'll tell you, it was at the IRS office in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania.
Really?
I went in there.
And
I was just about to start speaking to the lady to tell her that I wanted to consolidate my 1040s, right? From the non-resident alien now to the easy 1040.
Okay.
And the first thing this lady says is, we don't attend to illegal immigrants.
Ooh.
I was like,
She just assumed that you were an illegal immigrant?
I said, excuse me, ma'am. And then I said to my husband, I said, let's go home, because this person is not going to be able to help me, right? In that sense. And then I called the main office in, DC, and I got a person who was really experienced, walked us through it, and I just thought, what a waste of time, driving out there.
Yeah, all the way.
Really explicit judgment now, not even implicit, right? Because you could have been implicit and you didn't say anything to me, but then you're telling me that you don't attend to illegal immigrants. I'm like, oh, okay.
So you already assumed that you were an illegal immigrant.
Yeah, for whatever reason. Again, that's sometimes I feel like some of these things, it has nothing to do with you, right? People have their, strong biases, and I feel like
unconscious bias sometimes.
And the truth of the matter is that we're all biased in one way or the other, right? You just have to acknowledge it and kind of mitigate it as best as you can. And so for my sons, right, they're very precocious, and this is a gift from God, I would say. Precocious, like they're very intelligent. That's the word.
Because your mom and dad are intelligent. It's in the genes.
And so, there's always that question of it's unspoken, but it's like, how is this possible? You know what I mean? And so when I get the maybe first sometimes, and it's not every time, it just depends on the individual, because now we've had great teachers, but sometimes some of these people, once the first incident happens, and I'll tell you, this is a strategy that I use, then I just turn to my title. I use my title. I use it. That's part of the politics.
You command respect, yeah.
And I'm doing, because I'm trying to tell you that this child has a mother who knows what she's
doing,
right? And so I find that when that happens, the conversation changes.
It
has happened. I can tell you
how many times.
Right? Keep all the emails, right? So I can show you, if anything.
Wow.
So many times. And so I find that at some point, there's no point speaking. You better write, because people will read it, right? They'll read it. And guess what? It's on record.
Yes, and they will get the message.
Yes, if you were speaking, it could be he said, she said. But once you've written out what your grievance is, if it's a grievance, or what the issue is, then it can be attended to one-on-one. You get better results than
And
trying to get
actually
into
go back to it and read.
than trying to get into an office and having that conversation, because emotions will, they will arise, and at the end you may not get what you want. So that's it's been a strategy that I've used and it's worked.
Wow.
Right? Yes.
I love that. Yeah. So when you write it, it's already a record. I'm going to read some of the comments. Mary Tabi said, really enjoying the conversation. Pastor Vera Obaman said, external motivation will make you go better.
Yep.
And then she also said, technology and knowing what your priorities are, making impact is very important. Yes, I love that. You better write, because it will be on record. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Time is definitely not our friend.
No.
This conversation is going and going and going.
Yeah.
And I'm not even able to complete all the questions that I wanted to ask you today, but I wanted to make sure that I ask you this question before we leave. And that is, let's turn back the hands of time all the way back to your 16-year-old self. What would you advise your 16-year-old self, and why?
I would say to her, do the thing. Don't worry about what people will say, right? Don't worry about what people will say. Be braver, be bolder. And it's interesting because someone might say, how braver can you get, or how much bolder can you get, Otito? But every situation, it's like you're going into it, doing it afraid, but you realize, if I don't do this, one, nobody's going to do it for me. And two, right, if I do it and it succeeds, then I'm telling people that this is possible, right? So that 16-year-old, 17-year-old, 18-year-old self, I would tell her, do the thing, don't worry about it. Because I'll tell you, there was a time in this country, I became a little conscious about my accent, especially when you go for these huge scientific meetings and you're trying to present when one or two people come to you, right? So you start to have those feelings of like dissonance. You're like, I know I'm intelligent, but it's almost like no one wants to listen to me, so to speak. But then those meetings, it's interesting because the way they are structured doesn't even really allow for that expression of self and voice. And so, even though I would go for the meetings quite all right, hold my head up high, do what I have to do, but I was like, it became such an uncomfortable experience. So now, years down the line, with a bit more experience, a bit more like life thing happening behind me, I'll go out there and I'll do what I have to do.
Do what you have to do, and let the writing speak. Let the writing send the message, kind of. Thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation. One last thing that you have to answer in 10 seconds is, what else would you like to say in 10 seconds?
Oh, so now the one thing that I will say is, it is so true that when you shine your light, you unconsciously give other people permission to do the same. Not that they need your permission, right? They don't need it, but you are literally telling people that it's, it's possible. And it's not that you're saying, oh, do all these numerous things. Do what you can, where you can, do your best. But the truth of the matter is that we all have gifts and talents that God has given to us.
Amen.
Using for impact, and we should be using those.
Wow, thank you so much. This has been a worthwhile conversation. Thank you everyone for joining us. I also wanted to take the time to invite you to our upcoming virtual meet and greet. We talked about access. We need to know more people. We need to be able to introduce ourselves, and we need visibility. It's free. It's Monday, November 2nd. Go over to bit.ly/virtual meet and greet, and we will be expecting you. That it's open to everyone, male and female. It's not a gender thing. And until next time, I would say, be exceptional, be intentional, and be on point. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.